Hi guys, Hannah here for week 1, day 6, and this is the last session that we'll be doing this week. The materials we need for today's Mini Zentangle session is a black fine liner pen, and if you don't have one, a black biro or gel pen, black pencil, an earbud and an egg. Now, I've drawn this egg shape on an A4 piece of paper. You can do it larger or you can do it smaller. It's entirely up to you. So if you would like to go and get the materials, pause the video, come back when you're ready, and then we'll get started. So we've all got our materials now and we're ready to go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate spaces to tangle. And before we start, I'm just going to show you some examples of what I've done using the tangles that we've learnt this week. So this was the first one that I've done. So you'll see in the top I've used the tangle that we did on the first day. And then I've used the other 4 tangles that we've drawn through the week. This one I've changed it around slightly just to see which way I like it the best. And for the final example, I've done an Easter egg card. And you'll see that I've written Happy Easter here and I've only used 4 of the tangles. So it's entirely up to you how you want to put your tangles in. But we're going to go through the tangles we've done this week. You choose which section you want to do and we'll go. So I'm going to start on the larger part at the top. And I'm going to do the first tangle we did on day 1 this week. And I'm just going to draw some humps. And you'll notice that as I'm turning the page round, I'm trying to keep them of a similar distance apart. And I'm going to draw the humps all the way around the outside of that particular section. And then, starting with the first one, I'm just going to draw another half circle around the first one, and then I'm going to repeat that for the second one and the third one, and so on. And if at any point you feel that I'm going too quick for you, feel free to pause the video until you've caught up. Now, because this is in such a larger section than we did on the squares on the first day, I'm actually going to draw another half circle around each of them. And as you're drawing, if you just focus on the stroke that you're doing at the time, without worrying about the one that you've done before, you can slow down and you can start to relax. So now comes the time to decorate the inside, and you'll remember on the first video I coloured them all in. On this occasion I'm just going to draw some straight lines inside each of the first circles. And as I've mentioned before, I am going much quicker than I normally would, but please feel free to slow down and focus when you're filling the gaps in. So to repeat day 1, I'm going to draw another half circle, and you'll notice that this one's slightly further out, but I'm not joining it to the outside border. I'm then going to take off from where the last one ended and draw another one, again stopping before I get too far. And I'm going to continue repeating all the way around until I finished the first one, and then I'm just going to join the tail where I started. I'm then going to repeat exactly the same, but just this time further out. And then one more row in. Now, depending upon the size of the egg that you drew to start off with will depend upon the amount of space that you've got to fill. So some of you will have a much larger space like I've got, in which case you'll get quite a few rows of these in. Some of you that have got smaller eggs, you might only just get the 2 or the 3 rows. But you'll notice that I keep turning it round, and that's because I want my hand, my wrist, my arm to be as comfortable as it can be. And I think that's the last one I'm going to do. Now at this point we would normally add the shading, but I'm going to leave that and do all the shading at the end. And on this one I'm going to do the tangle we did on the second day, and I'm going to choose this one here. And I'm just drawing parallel lines, and you'll see that they're evenly spaced. And then I'm going to turn upside down, and I'm going to repeat it going the other direction. Then I'm going to turn it to the side, and I can probably fit 2 rows in here. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to draw another one there. Now you can see that some of these are quite large, so feel free, if you want to put an extra line in there, you can. Now on the second video we did, which was week 1 day 2, I coloured all of these squares in with a solid black. On this occasion I'm going to decorate it slightly differently. I'm going to do some similar lines that I did here, but I'm going to do them on the diagonal. So I'm going to pick the first square, or rectangle in this case, and I'm drawing both diagonal sides. So we've got something that looks a little bit like that. We then miss the one that's directly next to it, and we repeat drawing the 2 rows of diagonals. I'm then going to miss another one, and again I'm going to repeat it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish that section now, and I shall come back to you when I finished it. Back in a mo. So I filled in all of my spaces with the 2-way diagonals, and I'm going to move on to the tangle we did on day 3, and I'm going to choose this section to do. So I'm going to start off by drawing the diagonal lines going this way, and then I'm going to turn upside down, and I'm going to repeat the diagonal lines that way. And you'll see that they're all about the same distance apart. Don't panic too much if they're not, but that's the rough idea. Then I'm going to do the diagonals on the opposite way. Oops. And then I'm going to turn upside down, and I'm going to repeat that way. So we should now have something that looks a little bit like this. Now on the first session that we did for day 3, I did squares on the inside where they cross over, and then I showed some that had the extra square around the outside. Today I'm going to do some circles. So at each point where the 2 diagonal lines cross over, I'm just going to draw a circle, and I'm going to colour it in. And you'll notice that I'm trying to keep the circles roughly the same size, but again, don't panic too much if they're not exactly the same. And on the ones that are on the side, I'm just doing a half circle. In my mind, I'm imagining this line carrying on and this line carrying on, and where the half circle would sit. And at this point, if you wanted to get a black pen that's got a thicker nib, feel free, because it will mean that you can colour them quicker. And I've just noticed that there should be a line there, so I'm just going to add that. So that's where we're at the moment. And I'm going to decorate the inside of these, and I'm just going to draw a circle around each one. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. You can just leave them with the circles in the middle. It's entirely up to you. But this is just to show you what you can do. And we're going to leave the shading on this one until the end, and I will show you the shading for all 5 of them at the same time. Okay, so we have something that looks like that. So we now have 2 left, and the tangle that we did on day 4 was the one that looked a bit like this. So I'm going to choose, I'm going to do it in this one here, I think. So again, we're starting with a grid. So we're drawing straight lines, and you can do these on a diagonal if you want. Again, it's your piece of art, it's entirely up to you how you do it. And then I'm going to turn it to the side, and I'm going to draw a line all the way across. And you'll notice that I'm not using a ruler, so they're not perfect. And we've now got the grid that's shaped like this. And if you remember, we drew what's half a grain of rice, it looks like, on the right hand side of each of the inside of those squares. And I shall speed this up a bit now so you don't get too bored. So staying with the right hand side all the way along, going from corner to corner. I've just drawn a grain of rice, half a grain, and actually I'm going to do one there as well. I'm then going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to repeat that, and this time we're also going to stay to the right, but because we're upside down, it will be the other side, and it will give us what looks like a whole grain of rice. And again, I'm going much quicker than I normally would, so please feel free just to pause and slow down until you've caught up. I'm then going to turn to the side, and again sticking with the right hand side, and this can actually be very therapeutic and very calming. The repetitive movement means that you're concentrating on what you're doing and you're not worrying about anything else. I'm then turning it the opposite way, and I'm going to finish off by drawing a half circle to complete it looking like a grain of rice. And now we've finished that part, it's just a question of whether we want to decorate it. And I think that I quite like it the way that it is. So I'm going to move on to the final tangle that we did on day 5 even, I beg your pardon, and that was this one. And I've only got one space left, so I'm going to draw a zigzag or triangles. Now you might feel more comfortable drawing these to start off with in pencil, that's fine. So once we've got the triangles, I'm going to draw another triangle on the inside of all the ones along the bottom. I'm then going to turn it upside down, and starting from the center point, I'm just going to draw a wavy line in all of them and repeat that to the right hand side. And those of you that are left-handed might do it the opposite way around to me, which is fine. I'm then going to turn it back up the right way, and I'm going to repeat it and follow the same wavy line for all of those. Just one. Now I'm going to go back upside down, and inside each of these triangle shapes I'm going to draw a smaller triangle. Now when we did it on day 5, we coloured this part in a solid black, but I don't think I'm going to do that today, so I'm going to turn it to the side, and I'm just going to draw some straight lines. And again, you can do what you feel that you want to do. You can colour it all in solid black. You can do straight lines, curly lines, whatever you want to do. And then I'm just going to draw some straight lines going in the opposite direction. So we've got similar to the one above with hatch. It looks like hatching, but it's straight rather than on the diagonal. And there we go. We finished with that part. So we're going to move over to our pencil and our earbud, and we're going to start shading from the top to the bottom. So if you remember, we found the points, and if you remember how we hold the pencil to the side so that we don't put too much pencil on. And on this occasion I'm actually going to put some pencil shading in between each of the first humps. And again, I'm not being too accurate with it, and I'm not putting too much on. So using the earbud, and circular movements. I'm just going to tease that pencil out, and I'm starting in between the humps. It's entirely up to you where you start, and then I'm going to move on and I'm doing the lines in between. There you go. So that's the first tangle shaded. For the second row down, I'm just going to put a line of pencil around the whole outside, or should I say inside, of that particular section. And then using the earbud, I'm just going to move the pencil around. And the reason why I've done it on the outside, the inside, rather than in the individual triangles, is because I want to show the difference between that one and that one. So I want the person that sees it to be able to see that there's a clear difference between the top and the middle. On the next tangle down, I'm just going to put a dot at the centre of where the lines cross, but also I'm going to put some pencil around the inside of this particular section as well, because again I want there to be a clear visible difference between this row and the one above. So using the earbud again, I'm just moving the pencil across the page. And I must say, if you are using an earbud to use this for shading, please make sure that you don't then use it for your ear or any other use. It's just for shading. Once you've got the pencil on it, you really don't want that to be put anywhere near your face. Okay, so that's that one done. For the next row down, I'm also just going to put this one pencil around the inside of that row. And you'll notice that as I'm shading it, I'm focusing on the ones where the squares are empty, as opposed to the ones that have got the decoration on the inside. And then we have the final one, and I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm going to put it all the way along the bottom, but with the top I'm just going to put it on the empty parts here. I'm then going to see if I like the look of it just on the empty parts, or whether I want to do the whole of the top as well. Let's have a look. No, I've decided that I want to put it over the other sides as well. Just doesn't look quite right for me. And then just going to do some more smudging with the earbud, and then I think that one's finished. So now you have the option. You can either do what we've done before when we finished a piece and put your initial or your chop to the bottom, or you can cut it up and put it on an Easter card and give it to somebody that you haven't seen because you're stuck at home. I'd love to see all of your pictures when you finished yours, so please email me. And join me on Monday for week 2, day 1, where we're going to be learning some more patterns. And then at the end of next week, we're going to be doing the patterns we've learnt in an Easter bunny. Have a good weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Take care. Bye.